Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure that Wart, you know from Mario 2, is going to finally return in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and I have evidence! He's right behind me, isn't he? Now, in case you don't know who Wart is, which is totally understandable given how few games he's appeared in, he was the final boss of Super Mario Bros. 2, where Mario had to stop him from taking over the dream world of Subcon. And that's pretty much the last time we ever saw him in the mainline Mario games, outside of remasters or remakes of that same game, such as Super Mario Advance. The only other game appearances he's had was in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening and its remake, which also took place in a dream world. Although he did go by his Japanese name there, being Mamu. Point is, outside of minor dialogue references, we haven't seen Wart in a truly brand new mainline game since 1993, or in the Mario series since 1988. So why do I think now's the time for Wart to come back, especially when Nintendo's ignored perfect opportunities before, like with Mario & Luigi Dream Team, an entire game based around dreams? Well, it all comes down to this casino scene. Now, even though we can see minions from all walks of life, including Goombas, Koopa Troopas, and even some from Mario Galaxy, there's still an unusually high amount that has their origins from Super Mario Bros. 2, such as Shy Guys, Sniffits, and even technically Bob-ombs. And that's not all, because in this scene from the first trailer, there's a ton of Ninjas too, which also first appeared in that same game. Okay, now I know what you may be thinking. Hey Andre, those are just standard Mario enemies at this point. That doesn't really mean anything. And you wouldn't be wrong, until, that is, you consider these three other characters, being Birdo, Mauser, and Clawgrip, who's upside down here, as all three of them are iconic bosses from that same game, with all but Birdo never being seen again since. And given the context of the scene of Mauser getting up all disheveled like, Clawgrip being upside down, and Birdo actively attacking, it seems like these three are also acting as bosses here too. Pit bosses, because this is a casino and they're likely in charge of the games. Now before we continue, what's with the casino here in the first place? What's the connection to all the enemies from Mario 2? Well, let's not forget that at the end of every stage in Mario 2, you play this. That's right, it's a freaking slot machine. So the casino connection to all these characters makes so much sense. Now let's get back to those pit bosses for a second, because it begs the question, who's their boss? And this is where I think the answer is pretty obvious. It has to be Wart! He was their boss in the original game, why wouldn't he be their boss here too? He might even be the casino owner! Like, it's also obvious to me now, of course the casino would have Mario 2 enemies and the bosses from that game acting as pit bosses, with Wart as their leader. All the signs are there, and they're all pointing in the same direction! It's Wart! Wart's gonna be in this movie! And given the prominence of all these Mario 2 characters and the casino itself, I'm starting to wonder if there might be even bigger aspirations for Wart than just running the casino itself. After all, we've already seen a render of Tiny Bowser seemingly working alongside Yoshi. So if Wart does end up being a bigger menace, that might explain the team up. I also have to point out that it might make sense in a couple of other ways too that you probably haven't thought about, such as how Wart was the boss of the second game, just as this is the second movie. There's also the fact that Wart was the first boss in the Mario games that had pretty much the entire cast could fight, including Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Toad, which very well could be the case in this movie as well, given each character's prominence. Now with that being said, I ironically wouldn't bet my life savings on Wart being the final boss of the movie, but I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt he'll be in the movie in some form. And I have even more evidence to support that. First is a recent interview with Chris Pratt, you know, the voice of Mario, who teased a couple more characters that we don't know about yet. Now, this interview did come out before the latest trailer, meaning Yoshi could have been one of those characters, but that still leaves at least one more left. And that's where a second interview comes into play that you've probably forgotten about, and not just because it's a year and a half old, but also because it's not even online anymore at all. Anyways, in this interview, Keegan-Michael Key, you know, the voice of Toad, teased that some of the new characters are both going to be old favorites, as well as some that are really deep cuts. And at this point, after 37 years of neglect, deep cuts don't come much deeper than Wart. So once again, lock it in because Wart's going to appear. But that still leaves one more question. Who's going to voice him? And well, I have one idea.
I am the Great Wart! Ha ha ha!
Did that sound familiar to you? That's none other than Charles Martinet, as in the original voice of Mario, so I guess he's fighting himself in this scene? But yeah, he voiced Wart in the GBA remake of the original game, as well as the rest of the male boss characters too. And that could be a really fun way of getting Charles Martinet back into the movie, especially if Mario's family, of which Charles Martinet voiced his dad, won't be reappearing this time, which we don't know for sure. Woo, so that's all the evidence I have for why I think Wart could be appearing in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, but I do have two other thoughts real quick that I think could be fun to to explore if Wart does appear, which again, I am convinced of at this point. First up is the fact that in Link's Awakening, Wart actually sings. So maybe there's a chance he sings here too. He could be a very, maybe flamboyant casino owner. I think that'd be a really fun touch if they decided to add it. It could complement Bowser well as well, since Bowser's also a singer. Beyond that though, is Wart also looks a bit Yoshi-like, largely being a green reptile. So do you think maybe they could have some kind of fun connection there? I don't know exactly what, but they both do like to eat, I guess? I don't know, that is kind of what killed Wart in the second game. In any case, I'm sure there's some fun to be had there. But there you have it, everyone. Those are my thoughts on it. Do you think I'm right, or do you think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're down there, make sure to click that subscribe button and ring the bell if you haven't already, as I am obsessed with these movies, and I'll be covering even more of them in the future. So if you don't want to miss any of those videos, click subscribe if you haven't already. With that, we'll catch you later, everyone. Bye.